So welcome to Chapter 7 of our textbook, Practical Applications in Sports Nutrition, where we'll focus on the role of minerals in athletic performance. So though minerals are needed in small amounts, they play significant roles in optimizing health, supporting exercise capacity, and aiding in recovery post-exercise. So in the presentation, we'll examine both major and trace minerals, look at their specific functions, highlight examples of deficiencies in athletes, and explore when supplementation may be necessary. This is not a comprehensive presentation, so make sure that you read the chapter fully. So why do minerals matter? They may be small in quantity, but they're essential in impact. They are critical for hydration, oxygen delivery, and muscle function, all of which are fundamental to athletic performance. So for athletes, the stakes are even higher due to intense training, increased sweat loss, and sometimes restrictive diets. Athletes may be more prone to mineral imbalances. These imbalances can hinder performance and increase the risk of injury or illness. Let's take a look at what minerals are. They're inorganic elements that the body requires to function properly. They fall into two categories, which you'll need to remember. These categories are based on how much we need each day. Major minerals are needed in amounts greater than 100 milligrams per day, while trace minerals are needed in amounts less than 100 milligrams per day. Even though we need them in different amounts, both groups are equally important. Athletes in particular may be at higher risk for deficiency due to increased demand, dietary restrictions, or physical stress. So we're going to break these down now into the categories. The major minerals include calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, chloride, and potassium, and they work together to support your bone health, ensure proper muscle contraction, and maintain fluid balance within the body. An athlete who is sweating heavily or under fueling might not get enough of these nutrients, which could lead to muscle cramps, poor bone strength, or even electrolyte imbalances. So you don't have to know every single thing about these minerals, but maybe a few things about each, and make sure you understand whether or not they are major or trace minerals. Conversely, the trace minerals are needed in smaller amounts, but they're no less important. So this group includes iron, zinc, copper, selenium, chromium, and iodine. They are vital for supporting oxygen delivery, maintaining immune function, and protecting the body through antioxidant defenses. Now, deficiencies in these minerals can leave athletes feeling fatigued, even vulnerable to illness, or less capable of recovering between exercise or competition sessions. Let's take a look at our case study. This is Kayla, and she is a runner. She's a vegetarian and a long distance runner, and she recently noticed increasing fatigue and a drop in her performance. After seeing her physician, she was diagnosed with iron deficiency, which is pretty common among female and vegetarian athletes. Through dietary changes that increased her intake of iron-rich foods and vitamin C for better absorption, along with targeted supplementation, her energy and endurance improved significantly. So this case highlights the importance of identifying and addressing mineral shortfalls before they impact performance. So we're going to pick a few minerals and discuss those. So the first one we're going to highlight is iron. Now, iron is essential for transporting oxygen in the blood through hemoglobin and in muscles through myoglobin. Athletes at greatest risk for iron deficiency include females, vegetarians, and endurance athletes. Inadequate iron can cause fatigue, shortness of breath, and decreased stamina. And to maximize iron absorption, it's helpful to combine iron-rich foods with sources of vitamin C, such as citrus fruits, strawberries, or bell peppers. The next ones that we'll highlight are the electrolytes: sodium, potassium, and chloride. So these are critical for regulating fluid balance, enabling muscle contraction, and transmitting nerve signals. During exercise, especially in hot or humid conditions like where we live, athletes can lose large amounts of these minerals through sweat. And this loss can lead to muscle cramps, fatigue, or even more severe cases, hyponatremia. To prevent this, athletes should include electrolyte-rich sports drinks or salty foods during prolonged activity. So we're going to talk about what hyponatremia is, and if you're not familiar with it, hopefully you will be after this. But another case study is a triathlete once consumed large amounts of plain water during a long race, thinking it would prevent dehydration. Unfortunately, she developed hyponatremia, a condition marked by dangerously low blood sodium levels. She became confused and nauseated, which are classic symptoms of sodium imbalance. This case shows the danger of overhydration without replacing sodium and underscores the need for electrolyte-containing beverages during long events. Now, this doesn't just occur to athletes, although that's usually what you will hear about in the news, but it is very rare, but it can happen to anyone. This particular case, this was a social media post that was made in 2023, but during a 4th of July weekend vacation, this mom began feeling dehydrated, lightheaded, and had a headache. So in response, she drank water very quickly, approximately 64 ounces or about a half gallon in just 20 minutes, which is about equivalent to 4 16-ounce bottles of water. Now, after returning home, she collapsed in her garage and was rushed to the hospital, but she sadly never regained consciousness. The coroner's report determined that the official cause of death was cerebral edema and herniation with anoxic brain injury, all resulting from an electrolyte imbalance, also known as water toxicity or hyponatremia. So this can happen to anybody, although rare. But again, you'll most likely hear about it if it occurs within an athlete. So now we're going to look at calcium and bone health. Calcium plays a central role in the body, and it's necessary for bone strength, muscle function, and blood clotting. Athletes who restrict calories or those who avoid dairy may not get enough calcium, putting them at risk for low bone density, stress fractures, or even long-term issues like osteoporosis. And this is particularly true for those in weight-sensitive sports, such as gymnastics, dance, or running. Adequate intake from food or supplements is essential for injury prevention and for long-term health. So, magnesium and zinc are often overlooked, but they're critically important. Magnesium helps with muscle relaxation, energy metabolism, and enzyme activation. Zinc is involved in immune function, tissue repair, and protein synthesis. When athletes have poor or limited diets, these nutrients can become depleted, leading to symptoms like muscle twitches, frequent colds, or delayed recovery. So whole grains, nuts, seeds, and lean meats are good sources of both of these minerals. Now, this may or may not be one that you're very familiar with, but selenium is a trace mineral that works in tandem with vitamin E to help protect cells from oxidative damage, which is the damage that increases during prolonged or intense exercise. Endurance athletes in particular may have higher needs, and good sources of selenium include nuts, especially Brazil nuts, seafood, and meats. However, too much selenium can be harmful, so intake should come from food or professionally guided supplementation. Now, when should you supplement? It should be considered only when a deficiency is diagnosed or when an athlete is clearly at risk. High-dose supplements can interfere with the absorption of other nutrients or even cause toxicity. For example, too much zinc can impair copper absorption. Too much iron can be harmful if you don't need it. So always consult a healthcare provider or registered dietitian before starting any supplement regimen. Now, there are certain groups of athletes who face higher risks of mineral deficiencies. These include female athletes, especially those with heavy menstrual cycles, vegetarians or vegans due to lower mineral bioavailability in plant-based diets, and those following low-calorie or restrictive eating plans. Signs of deficiency might include frequent illness, lingering fatigue, muscle cramps, or stress fractures. Prevention of these starts with a varied whole food diet rich in minerals. Now, some final thoughts. And just remember that minerals do not provide energy directly. They are vital to nearly every system that supports athletic performance, from oxygen transport and nerve function to bone strength to muscle contraction. Minerals are fundamental to staying healthy and performing at your best. Athletes should monitor their diets, watch for signs of deficiency, and always aim for a balanced, nutrient-dense plate. Ask yourself, how might your sport, if you are an athlete, your training volume, or dietary habits affect your mineral needs? Now, to wrap up, this is just something for you to think about on your own time. But if you are an athlete or even one who exercises frequently, how might your sport increase your risk of mineral imbalance? And what could you do to correct it through diet or supplementation? Just something for you to think about. And if you have any questions about the material in this chapter or anything I've presented here, please feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to discuss it with you.